Hi, I'm Hannah. This is Theology Therapist, and today I wanted to tell you a story about something that happened during COVID. It's happened many other times, but this gives the best depiction of what I want to talk to you about today. During COVID, I spent a lot of my time in Italy. And if you remember, Italy was one of the very first epicenters of COVID. There's a green space park right outside of my balcony, and the police came by and they roped it all off, like a green space during 2020. It was rough, to say the least. So anyways, like everyone else, I wasn't able to see friends or to see family or have any meaningful connections. There were times when I would become irritable, angsty, and just all around unhappy. I wanted to leave the house. I wanted to go into the city center. I wanted to go back to my routine of going in every day, seeing people doing my stuff, coming back, and just being independent. I wanted to quit my hobbies. I wanted to walk out the door and never come back. This would go on for a while, sometimes without me really even realizing it, until maybe I would get into an argument with my spouse or just sort of be at my wit's end. And then at one point I would realize that I was just not accepting the situation. I couldn't go see my family. I couldn't keep up my routine. I couldn't meet new people. None of that was safe or even legal. Whenever I realized that I wasn't accepting my situation as it was, it changed. I wasn't as irritable or angsty. I felt an actual tangible shift inside of me, like openness, no resistance anymore. I liked my hobbies again because I wasn't expecting them to fill the roles of meaningful relationships, this role that they were never going to or able to fill in the first place. And so when I wasn't placing those expectations on them, all of a sudden I started enjoying them again. So sometimes we find ourselves in uncomfortable, extremely difficult situations where the idea of accepting what's happening feels unthinkable. I want to point out that, I think there's this common misconception that if we accept something, we're okaying it, or we're like all of a sudden happy that it's happening. And I think it's really important to recognize that acceptance does not mean that you are happy with what is happening. In meditation, there's this idea that whatever we notice, whatever comes up, it's okay because it's already here, right? So when I notice that I'm irritable or angsty or just like really pissed off, the situation that I find myself in, whenever I notice that, any sort of like anger or fighting it, like any sort of that is not going to make it not be. Right? Like it's already there. I already feel that. And so my accepting it acknowledges that's how I feel. That's my experience, right? That acceptance is that acknowledgement. Because when I can accept that that's my experience, I can allow it to change and I can feel something else. So one of my favorite monks is the Benedictine monk, and his name is Steindl-Rast. He talks a lot about gratitude. David Steindl-Rast grew up in Austria during when the Nazis were coming through. He was a teenager, young person. He talks about that experience in some of his speaking engagements and some of his writings. And as that he talks about gratitude so much, he addresses how often we treat gratitude as something superficial, something to be taken lightly, like, I'm grateful for friends, family, health, those things. And he talks about like, what do we do when there's something that we can't be grateful for? So, he says whenever there's something, like we can't be grateful for everything. We can't be grateful for wars or violence or domestic violence. So we can't be grateful for everything. But he says we can be grateful in every moment. he says, when there's something for which I can't be grateful for, I get quiet. It might take long or it might not take long, but first I get quiet. And then I picture a lake and I take whatever the thing is that I can't be grateful for, and I picture it throwing it into the lake. And I watch it go down and down and down. And that's like the no resistance, right? So that's the letting go. And so at some point in the quiet and in the throwing it into the lake, something emerges. And I love that idea that something emerges, because if you've ever experienced it before, that openness really is an emerging. It really is this tangible thing that you can almost feel, like, that resistance that I get, that angst kind of takes shape in my chest, and I get really tight and just, tense. And throwing it into the lake is that no resistance. It's that tension dissolving. And so if you are interested in learning more, hearing more about David Steindl-Rast and his perspective on life and gratitude, you can check out the On Being podcast with him. I'll put that link in the description. So if there's something that you're resisting, if there's something that you're having trouble accepting, you might want to try to see if it helps to get quiet, to throw that thing into the lake. Use this visualization and watch it sink down and down and down, and watch for however long it takes, right? Remember, it might take long, it might not take long. So it might not just be one sitting where you come and you sit for 5 or 20 minutes and you do this visualization and then you're good. It might not be like that. It might take like days or weeks, or it might take longer. But it is like this continual act of throwing it in, and of that watching it sink down is that act of kind of giving up that false sense of control that we sort of generally operate under. This probably happened all throughout life prior to COVID, and I don't know about you, but I think in my life it's gotten so much more apparent. It's just become so much more obvious, the things that I don't have control over, or the ways that I'm trying to push and pull and exert my will and make what I want to happen. And sometimes that works, and really sometimes it doesn't. And if you find yourself kind of resisting that movement, that energy, or just like having trouble accepting whatever the situation is you find yourself in, I hope you found this helpful. Please reach out for help or support should you need it, to someone in your local community, friends, family. If you're in Massachusetts, feel free to book an appointment with me as well. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I am happy to see you here. Be well.